Hello my friends, HM here. Last night Ukraine struck Russia again. This time it was brand new because they struck Russia 1300 kilometers away from Ukraine. And that means that Ukraine has used a new drone that they haven't used before. One that I have talked about previously in my videos that was under development. It's a drone that actually can hit targets 3000 behind enemy lines with 75 kilo of explosives and 1000 kilometers away from Ukraine with 300 kilos of explosives. This drone was used this time because the attack happened 13 kilometers away from Ukraine's border, and they attacked another oil refinery for Russia, a large one, and also they attacked a Shahed factory producing drones, that drone that Iran has delivered by the thousands to Russia, but that Russia is also now producing themselves. And the picture we have here in the background is actually a picture of this attack on that Shahed drone factory. We do need a little more confirmation about that Shahed drone attack, and I'll talk about what we see here in this video, but let's get to the video footage and also talk about that drone that Ukraine now finally deployed for the first time. It's very exciting. It's good news for Ukraine that they have this capability now. Okay, this is the best video I got from the Ukrainian attack on the Shahed factory. We think it's a Shahed factory. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But I'm not going to play the video in full because I'm afraid that that might get me banned, violating some YouTube rules that advertisers on YouTube are demanding that no violence is showing. So I'm only going to show you still images, and if you want the full video, you have to go to my X account or Twitter account and see the full videos there. I post them there, and there's a link to that below my video. So I'm just going to move the slider forward in this video. As you can see, the airplane is flying in. When it goes very low here, the plane explodes. So it looks like it's flying over those trees and hit something on the other side of those trees, and hopefully that factory. But here it explodes, so I'm going to just jump a few frames ahead. Here we have it. The plane is now behind those trees, and here it explodes. And let's move forward here a few frames. Bigger explosion here. It's a big explosion, as you can see. This explosion is bigger than the explosions that I've seen from other refinery attacks. It's really big, and that's another reason why it's this new airplane that Ukraine is using, because the drone is bigger and it can carry up to 300 kilos of explosives for 1000 kilometers. So it can carry a lot more explosives than any other drone that Ukraine has attacked Russia with previously. And here you can see it gets even bigger, this explosion here. And it hit something behind those tree lines. Now, this is an image from the oil refinery that Ukraine also struck 1300 kilometers away from Ukraine. It's interesting. You can see that the refinery has been hit. It's burning down here. Maybe we can zoom in a little bit. But before I zoom in, I'll also show this. You can see there are some flares up here in the air, some explosions. That's what an anti-aircraft gun look like. That would be flak in military language, exploding munitions from an anti-aircraft gun. So this is also the first time I've seen actually anti-aircraft guns being deployed at Russian oil refineries. Before, they were not protected at all, but now Russia has apparently moved some anti-aircraft guns to these oil refineries, so it is protected, but it didn't prevent at least one drone from hitting the target here, because we can see something burning here. Let's see if we can zoom in. Clearly something is burning here, and smoke is coming up. Hopefully it's destroyed enough to shut down this oil refinery for a long time. The thing about hitting Russian oil refineries is that many of these oil refineries, especially the newer ones, have been made by engineers in the West with processes and technology that are developed in the West, and Russia would need these engineers from the West and also components made in the West in order to repair these refineries. It's not at all sure that they can repair them themselves. The older refineries, yes, they can repair that because it's based on Russian old technology. There's a reason why they're old. They are not as efficient as the newer ones, can't produce as great gasoline and diesel as the newer ones. That's why Russia has imported Western engineers and technology to do their newest refineries. But let's move on and see what else we can find. I have some evidence here from Ukrainska Pravda. They're usually the best informed newspaper on these attacks by Ukraine on Russia. It says it's the Russian city of Nizhnekamsk where this oil refinery was attacked, and you have the same picture. It said that this oil refinery is the 5th largest oil refinery in Russia, responsible for 2.6% of Russia's total refining capacity for gasoline and diesel. So it's a big target, and it's great that they can hit it. But let's see a map of where exactly this is located. Now I have a map here that shows where this attack took place. It was in this city here, Nizhnekamsk, and down here we have Ukraine. If I zoom out, it's easier to see. So up here we have Russia. Down here we have Ukraine, and I took a measurement of this distance, and in a straight line it's 1120 kilometers, so not the 1300 kilometers that was reported. But you can't fly a drone in a military situation in a straight line, because that'll make it too easy for Russia to know where the drone is and then shoot it down. So what you do is you zigzag around here in order to get to the target, so Russia don't really know where this air drone is flying, and whenever it's reported it's there, well then it made a swing and turned around. So it might have been flying for like 1500 kilometers in order to get to this target that is 1120 kilometers away from Ukraine. So I thought you should know that. Now, if we stay at this map here with deep state, we can actually zoom a little bit in, and then we can see where the other attack took place. It's reported to happen here in Yelabuga. That was on the Shahed drone factory, and by dragging this up here, we can take a distance measurement of that. It's actually not that far away, so it's not reported correctly what kind of distance that was for that one. It's 1160 kilometers away in a straight line. But again, if you're not flying in a straight line, and you're definitely not in this war situation in order to avoid enemy radar and anti-aircraft positions, then the drone would have to fly a lot longer, like 15 or 1600 kilometers. Now, Reuters had an article some months back about this airplane or drone that Ukraine has been developing and that now was deployed today for the first time, apparently in a large-scale attack on oil refinery and this Shahed drone factory. It's an airplane, it's shown here. It's built by a company called Aerodrone, and they make airplanes for spraying pesticides on Ukrainian agricultural fields. And now they converted this airplane to a drone and put a warhead in it, and also some electronics to control it, and also to make it able to avoid electronic warfare systems from Russia. Maybe I should read a few lines here. Aerodrone says that one of its models, called Enterprise, that's the one we saw a picture of, is based on the frame of a light aircraft that can fly over 3,000 kilometers in certain circumstances. So that's probably in good weather and in a straight line. They said that their military contracts strictly limit what the company can disclose, but they said the Enterprise and another model called Discovery can be used for a wide variety of tactical purposes, thanks to payloads of up to 300 kilograms and 80 kilograms respectively. And my guess is that they can do 300 kilograms on 1,000 kilometers distance and then 80 kilograms on 3,000 kilometers distance. Also very interesting, they mentioned that cost of the aircraft cost between $150,000 and $450,000 depending on the model and configuration, which can include features such as anti-jamming system to counteract Russian signal interference. So that's what we know about this airplane, and now we also know it was deployed for the first time in the Ukraine war. Now, I have more information about this attack on the Shahed factory, and it's actually quite good. We have some satellite images down here. It's again from Ukrainska Pravda. This is from Maxa, which is a global satellite imaging company, and they have made a picture of this Shahed drone factory. And then Ukrainska Pravda has found that location on Google Maps and shown this picture here. Let's try and magnify it a little bit. And here we have the factory. It's the same picture here, the Shahed drone factory. The video we just saw before shown some houses that actually look a lot like apartment buildings for people, and in this same article it said that these buildings right here that you can see right here, they were buildings for workers working on this factory. But you also saw the drone flying in from this side here, and it was flying over these buildings with workers. And then there was some trees, which could be this tree line here. There's also a tree line in front of it here. And then it hit that factory, apparently. That's my assumption. It flew over these buildings for workers, and then it hit this factory building right here that we couldn't actually see on the video, but it went down behind those trees and hit this factory. But the explosion was so massive that it also damaged, and there are some pictures that these worker buildings was also damaged. But I think the main damage was to this Shahed factory, and that was it. So I thought that was very interesting. So it appears that it was a very successful attack on this factory. Also, it appeared that there were no anti-aircraft guns on this Shahed factory. Russia didn't thought that Ukraine could reach that far out, so it wasn't protected. It was only the oil refinery that was protected with anti-aircraft guns. So very interesting. But I think I will end my video here. Otherwise, it'll be too long, and there are so many other things I'm going to report about. I'm making a video about kill ratios, actually a series of videos about kill ratios and who's winning the war in Ukraine. So if you want to see those videos, they'll be forthcoming soon. Then subscribe to my channel. And otherwise, I only have one thing to say: live a great life in freedom and democracy. Thank you very much.